You're in a group photo again. Everyone leans in. The camera flips. Someone says, "Smile." And you do, but something feels slightly off. Not dramatic. Not painful, just unnatural. Later, when you see the photo, you don't hate it, you just don't feel connected to it. It looks like you, but it doesn't feel like you. And maybe that's why you rarely take pictures of yourself. Not because you're insecure, not because you're hiding, but because something about freezing yourself into an image feels incomplete. So instead of explaining this with 8 different angles, let's slow down and ask 4 deeper questions. The first question is simple. When you avoid taking pictures of yourself, what exactly are you protecting? Is it your privacy, your energy, your sense of control, or is it your self-image? This isn't about judgment, it's about awareness. Because sometimes the avoidance isn't about how you look, it's about who gets to define you. A photo captures a surface, but your identity feels larger than that, more layered, and part of you resists being reduced to a single frame. The second question goes deeper. Do you experience moments more from the inside or from the outside? Some people naturally shift into observer mode. They step outside themselves, adjust their posture, check how they appear. Others stay immersed. When you're laughing, you're laughing. When you're thinking, you're inside the thought. The idea of stepping out of the experience to document it feels disruptive. If you're the second type, your brain may prioritize lived experience over visual proof. And that isn't random. It suggests your identity is internally anchored rather than externally validated. The third question is uncomfortable but powerful. When you see photos of yourself, do you evaluate or do you recognize? Evaluation sounds like, is my face symmetrical? Do I look tired? Is that how I really look? Recognition sounds like, oh, that was me in that moment. If your first instinct is evaluation, your nervous system may associate visibility with scrutiny. And over time, avoiding self-photography becomes a quiet way to avoid activating that inner critic. Not dramatic, just efficient. But here's where it gets deeper. In modern culture, we're constantly exposed to curated versions of other people, perfect lighting, selected angles, edited expressions. Your brain automatically compares, even when you don't consciously choose to. So choosing not to participate fully in that loop can actually be a form of cognitive self-regulation. The fourth question might be the most important. If there were no social media, no profiles, no permanent digital archive, would you take more pictures of yourself or fewer? Pause on that. If your answer is more, then maybe your resistance isn't about the image itself. Maybe it's about performance, about permanence, about being observed. If your answer is fewer, then maybe you simply don't experience yourself visually. Maybe your identity is built through memory, through narrative, through emotion, not appearance. And this is the reframe most people miss. Not taking pictures of yourself doesn't automatically signal low confidence. Sometimes it signals that your attention is directed inward rather than outward, that you care more about depth than display, that your sense of self isn't dependent on constant visual reinforcement. Of course, balance matters. Total avoidance of visibility can quietly shrink your presence in social spaces. Growth sometimes requires tolerating being seen, but being selective, being intentional, that's different from being insecure. Your brain is always optimizing for safety and coherence. If documenting yourself feels misaligned, there's usually a psychological reason, and understanding that reason gives you back control. So here's the final, quiet question. Are you avoiding the camera because you don't like yourself, or because you experience yourself in a way the camera can't capture? There's a difference. If this resonated with you, take a moment to reflect before moving on. And if you want more psychologically grounded conversations like this, consider subscribing. There's also a deeper breakdown in the newsletter linked in the description. Stay aware of the patterns your mind chooses. They're rarely accidental.